Well, gang, I come to you tonight, a broken Kevin Strange. I've been broken by pot-bellied vampire goblins. Zach, I'm a broken man.
Yep, they literally did nothing, but they broke you.
I am broken. I announced to the world that Cockhammer Lives will be my final extreme horror work. And that from now on, I'm going to shift the stories of Strangeville in a more wholesome direction. More family and faith-oriented direction. Still containing all of the monsters and babes and robots and weird action and nonsense that we're all accustomed to here in Strangeville, that we've been Skinny.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
That we've been the Strangeville stories that we've been enjoying for 15 years. But since I'm going to leave the vulgarity and profanity and pornographic sex behind, for some reason, the satanic pot-bellied goblins find that to be a win. Skinny, Zach, let me ask you something. If you were a pot-bellied satanic goblin, would you want more pornography in the world or less?
They definitely want more.
What? Well, does that make me the opposite of what I am now? Right now, just as a normal person, I want more porn. Well, yeah. I mean, if I were a pot-bellied goblin, I mean, I'd want more goblin porn.
More goblin porn. Do they want goblin porn or fairy porn?
Well, no, I'm like probably goblin porn, like the hentai shit you see out there when you're on.
Goblin girls are not pretty.
No, they're not until you
goblin
like a whole bottle of Jaeger, and it's like
goblin on fairy porn, maybe interspecies pornography. So somehow the pot-bellied satanic goblin community believes that they're winning by me announcing that I'm no longer going to create pornographic art. That they've broken me. Somehow I'm broken. That broke me.
No, they broke your cock.
Skinny, my cock is broken.
It's bent in half now.
Yeah, they've
So what's the skinny? No pun intended. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about, man? I have no understanding of this.
First of all, can you hear my air conditioner in the background? I'm paranoid that that's rattling through the. You don't hear anything?
No, I just hear your crippling depression.
All right. Okay, so you're aware that over the last several days, Zach and we had an occult investigator on a few nights ago. We talked about Aleister Crowley. We talked about occultism. We talked about the West Memphis Three. And then a couple of days later, Zach and I did a show where we watched a Damien Eccles video from the West Memphis Three talking about Aleister Crowley, and then we commented on it. And then we watched a video. You're familiar with Grant Morrison, right? Batman writer, Invisibles writer, Justice League writer, Arkham Asylum writer, and an avowed warlock, right? He is an occultist, a chaos magician to be exact. So I brought up, Zach and I were in the middle of a discussion, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go grab this Grant Morrison video I watched a long time ago where he just acts like a complete nutter talking about sigil magic and everything he wrote into his comic book happened to him in real life, and that he was like creating reality through his magical spells. And so I did. I brought it up and I played it, and we just did some really light commentary over it. In fact, I'd have to go back and watch the video. But Zach, I don't believe that we were all that critical of these guys. We were just sort of showing their worldview, right?
Well, I mean, it was pretty easy to infer that we were critical. I mean, we definitely didn't put them in a positive light. But I'm not apologizing for that.
If you have to infer criticism, then that's pretty light criticism.
Yeah.
If you have to infer the criticism, then it's pretty light criticism. I'm not saying it wasn't criticism. I'm not saying we were endorsing the videos at all. It was criticism, but it was very, very like kid glove criticism. We did not go hard.
We just let them talk for themselves and then kind of poke fun at it, because everything they say is kind of this, this crazy occultic nonsense.
Yeah, and if you're into that kind of shit, you should be used to criticism by this point.
Well, that's the thing, though. They see it as kind of like a little trendy subculture type thing that they claim not to even believe in. And we're just pointing out that it's aligning yourself with like the dark, horrible aspects of like reality. But they won't look at it that way. They'll say it's like this, they see it as like an intellectual pursuit rather than just a complete submissiveness to, as I said, like the dark side of reality.
So I ended up near the end of the video, in passing, I mentioned the name of a small press fiction editor who hates me. And I said, this guy, Jeff Burke, I said, hey, Jeff Burke he's a big old Grant Morrison fan. He's an occultist and chaos magician himself. And that's really all we said. I mean, I literally acknowledged his involvement in the occult, and then Facebook blew up. He did a whisper post about me. He didn't tag me in it or even name me. He was like, some individual it's been brought to my attention, some individual on the internet is calling me a Satanist. So I posted the screenshot and was like, Jeff, I emailed you last week talking about small press blacklisting and how big of a problem like whisper networks and gay ops and blacklisting is in the small press community. You couldn't be bothered to email me back, but literally within hours of me mentioning you once in an 1.5 hour long video on the internet, you're whisper posting about me on your Facebook. So it blew up. It blew up into a giant. How many comments are on that thread that he made, Zach?
The one that I jumped right in the middle of ended up somewhere. I think it was like around 500. It may have been less, but I mean, it was crazy.
500 comments about me mentioning Jeff Burke in passing once in an 1.5 hour long video. That's how much these people are triggered by me, Skinny. And what ended up happening, so Jeff Burke ends up coming over to my post, like the screenshot, and he starts being like, technically, I'm not a Satanist. You don't even know what you're talking about if you think I'm a Satanist.
Oh, yeah, and he came on to mine and did the same thing, and I just gave him the speech that, it's all basically exactly what we've been saying and what everyone's saying about it, is that they'll do all these like occultic practices but say it's not really Satanism, or even take like an atheistic stance and be like, yeah, we're just doing all this thing called chaos magic, and it's completely got this like little satanic aesthetic going on, but we don't really believe it. Like, it's just such a lame cop out.
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with all this nonsense, Skinny, but basically the idea is we're going to worship demons and devils and invoke their names in satanic rituals, but we don't really believe in it. We're just doing it for funsies. We're LARPing as Satanists, so don't actually call us Satanists. That's an insult. This is really what it comes down to.
I think you just killed about 12 of my brain cells.
Right. It's retarded. I mean, it's retarded. It's adults cosplaying as vampires. It's adult people cosplaying as vampire, goblin, warlock.
It kind of reminds me of that episode of South Park where the vampire kids and the goth kids are like.
That's exactly what they are. That's exactly what they are. They're Denny's goth kids.
Man, you're right. I just noticed something because I went back and looked at the original post that you did. I'm thinking that would have been the first, sharing of the video. And all you said in the description was, did you know that one of the most famous Batman comic book writers is a practicing occultist? We show a clip of him spazzing about it on the show. And, nothing that obviously speaks of Jeff Burke or any of them. So they were watching it.
They're watching this right now.
Like it's freaking fans or something.
They're watching this right now. Bradley Sands is watching this video right now. Texting Jeff Burke. They're talking about you on the internet. They're talking about you again, Jeff. And now tomorrow, Jeff will make a whisper post. The certain individual on the internet continues to call me a Satanist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So anyway, Jeff comes over to my post, the screenshot of his whisper post, and he starts trying to tell me like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a Satanist, and I'm going like, yeah, whatever, dude. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care what technicality you call yourself. Like, it's all the same shit. It's like it's like a Seventh-day Adventist getting mad at you that you called him a Christian. It's like, dude, it's all the same thing. It's just, different variations, different nuances of the same material. So, are you drinking alcohol here, or is that a Dr. Pepper?
This is a cherry vanilla Dr. Pepper.
You know who drinks?
I got work tomorrow. I can't drink.
Oh, that's no good. I'm on vacation all week, and I've been telling Zach all week I am not going to spend my week in satanic, pot-bellied goblin drama, and he just keeps dragging me in. Did you see what so-and-so said?
Well, no, actually, I just tell you about it. When you actually got dragged into it for real, that was the goblins somehow coming to your post. It's like they descended on a post of yours about the whole crazy, annoying riot situation, and like nothing in that was slightly occultic, but it got, or mentioning the occult, but it got the goth chicks who all claim to be occultists on it.
So now the goth chick, now Jeff Burke's coven of goth chicks has started coming over to shame me in all my posts. And
are they these hot goth chicks, or are they like the really ugly?
I mean, you'd have to go make that. Decision.
Do they have
beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Skinny.
Well, this
I do have to say one thing.
Anything with more than 2 chins. So
more than 2. 2 is acceptable. 3 is.
That's the limit.
So tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong in this. This is what happened today.
I just want to say that they're not. I don't know if they were specifically, like affiliated with Jeff Burke or anything.
We're gonna say
mainly that one woman who was like a trauma something spazzed out about it and said, "What in the actual fuck?" Like,
well, because I'm gonna make a statement here, Skinny. You tell me where I'm wrong in this statement. We're turning all of our social media black today to honor George. Is his name George Floyd? George Floyd, the dead, the guy that was killed at the top that started all these riots. We're gonna turn all our social media black today to honor this one black guy that died. And I said, why doesn't anybody ever turn their Facebooks or their social media black for the overwhelmingly black majority abortions that are performed in this country every year? And the goth girls didn't like that, Skinny. They didn't like that.
What?
They didn't like that. Are you aware, Skinny? I don't know if you're aware of this statistic. Black people make up 13% of the American population and 54% of the abortions in America.
Oh, I know all about that, man.
So that's just a.
You know me.
I lost you. What did you say? You broke up.
I say, you know me. I'm an anarcho-libertarian, so.
There you go.
Yeah,
they're just facts. I mean,
I'm a numbers guy. I'm a facts guy. I really don't care
about
people's feelings.
And Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, was a Nazi sympathizer and eugenicist who deliberately put Planned Parenthoods in low-income black neighborhoods in order to cull the black population, and is quoted publicly as saying as such.
We even got Lyndon Johnson talking about welfare. I'm not going to repeat what the fucker said, but holy shit.
So anyway, those are the things that I was talking about today, because if we're going to be super upset about black people, why not the largest number of black people that are killed, which are babies, in abortions every year? More black people are killed in abortions every year than anything else. Why doesn't anybody ever get upset about that? And for some reason, these white as a piece of paper goth girls wanted to come over and get all crazy.
It's always white people.
Wanted to come over.
It makes me ashamed.
So
I don't know what it is, man. But no, there's nothing wrong with saying that. But I will say that does kind of take the focus off of what's really going on. Like, I know a lot of people are spurging about this shit, man. It ain't a white, black, Mexican, fucking yellow Marvin the Martian issue. And it's kind of sad how everybody's taking it over with all this other shit. But police brutality is a real fucking thing. I can count I can't count how many times I've seen unarmed people fucking just completely slaughtered unjustly, and then no consequences were suffered whatsoever.
Fuck the police, right?
And that's white people. That's them killing black people, Mexicans.
Well, again, statistically, more white people are killed by police each year. Than
I think it's like was it 3-1 for blacks?
Yeah.
For every one black person killed by an officer of the law, there's like 4 white people.
There you go.
But that's irrelevant. Race is irrelevant. The fact is that you got police out there fucking brutalizing people. That's the only thing that should fucking matter. But these people done lost their fucking minds. I was sitting in my corner being like, all right, here comes the revolution. And I'm not talking about no Antifa type shit. I'm talking about actual sit down, let's fix shit. Let's give power back to the people. Because there's no reason why every damn person on this earth should shit themselves when they get pulled over. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for any time somebody sees an officer of the law, they feel fear. There's no reason for that. They should feel safety, but they don't.
Amen.
I'm a weirdo.
Amen, brother. No, I'm not disagreeing with any bit of that.
But yeah, fuck the white women though.
Well, yeah, what ends up happening is so she's like one of 3 or 4 goth girls that come over and say, what the actual fuck?
That's all they say. There was another one that came on later and said, what the fuck is actually wrong with you, or something like that.
Yeah, because I'm posting statistics about the number of dead black babies. And I started posting links to Margaret Sanger information, just so they know, just so they understand that what I'm saying is 100% fact. I'm not distorting the reality of Margaret Sanger's political affiliation with Nazi Germany, or her position as a eugenicist, or her designation as the founder of Planned Parenthood. But anyway, they didn't like that. They wouldn't engage with that at all.
No, because you just tore your whole world apart, man.
There's also another statistic that's interesting. I think it's only the upper 50% of American women support abortion after the first trimester. So it's not a like man versus woman, like it's my body and I'll do what I want kind of a thing. Like there's a lot of women that are opposed to killing babies. It's not a male versus female thing.
I'm indifferent to it. I see a lot of people out there who probably shouldn't have babies.
You would rather the cops kill babies than kill big people.
I'm sorry. I just have this mental image of like cops all the babies.
If the cops have to kill anybody, they should kill babies, right, Skinny?
Kill the babies, yeah. Let the cops kill abortion so they can get it out of their system. Like, so, I don't know if you saw, not to get too far off the subject, but did you see that clip on, I've seen it floating around on Twitter, where this guy kind of like peacefully approached the cops. He's not armed or anything. They maced him in the fucking face. He turns around to start walking away. They yell something at him, and he turns around, and they get him right in the fucking face with a tear gas mask.
Jesus.
Like, no reason for that kind of shit at all. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like shaking my head. I'm just, you stupid motherfuckers. That's what they're protesting, you dumb sons of bitches. Can you not just cool your fucking shit for 5 minutes? Let these people calm down. Oh, shit.
I thought you needed to go to bed soon, Skinny. You're getting all fired up. You're drinking cherry Dr. Pepper, getting fired up. Smoking cigarettes.
You ain't seen me fired up yet. You'll see this vein pop out like right here once I get fired up.
When you start
the dang cold influence is rubbing off on him because they hexed us, and
that's what I'm getting at.
With this. So
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, guilty by association.
Yeah, Zach and I believe that all these goth girls and Jeff Burke's coven of his nest of satanic pot-bellied goblins have hexed us. We believe that there's a satanic curse on our heads. Skinny, Horror DVD Devil Gray says, "Hey everyone, what's up, guy? Thanks for joining us." Zach, did you say you don't want to pray the hex away?
I mean, not really.
I want to pray the hex away live on the air. You're opposed to that?
It seems kind of silly, but if you're serious about it, but
I mean, Satanists are silly, aren't they?
Yeah, they are silly. We don't even really have to think about them. I mean, they're not.
You don't think the Lord needs to be bothered with the trivial pursuits of pot-bellied satanic goblins?
No, you're just gonna have God up there just doing this. Like this shit again.
Here you go. What now? Hang on. What?
Damn it, Kevin.
These freaking kids
I ain't
are
got
acting up
time for
again
this
with all
shit.
their little sigils, all their sigils and such.
Oh my God.
I honestly think like God's been screening our calls for a long time because he's just done with our dumb bullshit.
There's certainly a lot for him to manage tonight. He's got his hands full.
Oh yeah.
Definitely got his hands full. Yeah, but I did want to make that announcement that Cockhammer Lives is going to be my final extreme horror work, and then my work from here on out is going to be more in line with. So we're talking about comic books, and that's really my thrust of my career right now. And Skinny, this is more your territory than Zach's territory. But I've had. Let me just talk about this for a little bit, because Zach doesn't want to pray the hex away.
Don't pray the gay away, man.
So for a long time, I've really respected guys like Tim Lim, Doug TenNapel, Doug Garrett. Who are some other guys? There's a lot.
He actually just sent me his book.
Yeah.
Tim did the art in this one. This is so
Yeah.
fun. And I believe Mark Pellegrini helped with the scripting a little bit. I don't think he's credited though. But this is an awesome book.
Is Mark going to do any further writing? I know he wrote the Red Rooster, but then he got rewritten and written out of it. Is he actively working in comics still, or did he?
Yeah, well, him and Tim are like a package deal, man. Like,
oh, he writes all the Tim Lim stuff?
Yeah, they're best friends too, man. That's like the comic creator's dream, is to befriend a tiny Asian artist that you can totally intimidate to doing everything you want him to do.
So tell Zach and the viewers, what are some of Tim and Mark's awesome books that they can?
Well, currently, I don't know how much stock they have left, but right now on Indiegogo, they have the special Walmart book, which is their kind of political satire of My Hero Academia, except it's My Hero Magademia.
Yeah, it's a satirical manga with Donald Trump as the superhero lead character.
Yeah,
and then who did Trump Space Force?
That was also Tim Lim, but Chuck Dixon actually wrote that.
That's right, Chuck Dixon and Tim Lim. I own Trump Space Force, and it's an amazing book, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's Trump fighting aliens with the Space Force.
Yeah, and little bit of knowledge. I don't know if he's credited in the book, but Chuck Dixon really didn't quite nail the way that Trump talks. So Mark actually stepped in to help him out a little bit in that regard.
In Space Force? Yeah. Well, there you go. So I've had a lot of respect for all these guys for a long time, but it's like Mike S. Miller also, to a lesser degree. He's a little bit of a drama queen, but Zach is too, and I like Zach a lot. John Delarose, he's another comic creator that I have a lot of respect for. But for the last couple of years, I've just felt like I'm such an outsider. Not just because I was first getting into comics. Yeah, there you go, Flying Sparks from John Delarose. I felt like such an outsider from the conservative comic book community. Not necessarily because I was just getting started with comics, because you got to get started somewhere, but because my stuff is so filthy. I do such filthy pornographic comic books that I just felt like it would be an embarrassment to even bother that group of conservative comic book artists with my stuff. But I stand by my stuff. I'm proud of Strangeville, the perverted and pornographic extreme horror Strangeville universe. So it's been 2 years of really soul searching and wrestling with what I want out of my career. Like, where do I want to go from here? Do I want to continue? And I made a post about this. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, where I basically said I've had 1 foot in the conservative community and 1 foot in extreme horror for years, more than 2 years. We're talking 5 or 6 years. I was openly conservative before Trump was elected president, and so there was a ton of contention between me and all of the small press writing community that I was a part of, because it's 99.99% hardcore leftist, Antifa supporting liberal feminists.
Yeah, because creators aren't the brightest bulbs in the box ever.
Right. And so I've had there's been this contention in my career for years now, and I have been so stubborn because this is the career I set out to do. I'm 15 years deep in the Strangeville universe, and it is vulgar, and it is horrific, and it is hardcore, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the writing that I've done, and the comic books that I'm making, and Cockhammer Lives is going to be for sure the best thing. I mean, you've seen some of the pages of this thing. This thing blows away my previous comic. The art blows it away. I've grown leaps and bounds in the last couple of years, art-wise, to get to where I am. And yet, after this past weekend of dealing with the satanic pot-bellied goblins and ghouls and vampire witches, I just had enough. I was just like, you know what? Why am I fighting to continue to make this kind of
art? You trade one evil for another, though, man. Because honestly, like, if you go the conservative route and you tone your shit down, you'll get into that little niche. Yeah, no problem there. But then you're gonna have a lot of there's a lot of war within conservatism. I mean, there's conservatism.
There sure is, and there's even.
But then you also have all the left-wing fucking retards. Not all liberals are retards, just the current ones.
The ones that are just the retards.
I like classic Democrats. I will say that.
Trump is one of those. Trump is a classic Democrat.
So you're just. At least the evil you have right now is pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah, but here's the challenge, though. I'm a great writer. And I know I can do it. I know I can make great stories that aren't going to turn away my conservative audience. Because I would say at this point in my career, I have a bigger conservative audience that doesn't read my stuff than the liberal audience I have that does read my stuff. So what is the point? Why am I even making comic books and writing books when the majority of people who support me and follow me aren't even into that kind of stuff? So this isn't about getting involved, and I know I framed it as such, but this isn't about like getting involved in a clique of conservative comic book writers. I'm thinking, as far as that goes, I'm thinking more along the lines of networking and doing shows together. I would have John Delarose on this show in a second. I would have, we just added Doug Garrett to our stream group. I would have him on in a second. I just don't think these guys want to sit and watch me draw giant monster penises all day.
You'd be surprised.
Well,
these guys are conservative, but that doesn't mean they don't have a sense of humor. They can't laugh at silly things.
I want to go a different direction, though. I want to take this, and I at least want to try. I at least want to challenge myself. I have two books I want to do back to back that I think have the potential to be the best stuff I've ever written, and will appeal to a broad, even family audience.
Yeah. Well, even Doug Tenaple would probably tell you to do that. He's like,
well, Doug's been telling me to do that for 2 years.
Yeah, you need to have your stuff for everybody to pick up. I mean, that's how you're going to make the most money.
That's really what this comes. Well,
it's the same thing. It's like these retards who are arguing, like Indiegogo only. No, don't ever Indiegogo only. Don't limit your profit. That's stupid.
Yeah, the only
every avenue you can possibly think of.
The only thing I don't like about Kickstarter is that you have to send that survey out when you're done, and then people like your pledges don't mean anything until everyone fills out that survey, and then they take the money out of the account. And there's like horror stories about people getting like half the money that they raised because the surveys don't get answered.
Yeah,
but it's a bigger platform, right? The idea is you can get more eyeballs on your stuff on Kickstarter than you can Indiegogo. Indiegogo is a smaller tool.
I highly recommend anybody doing it on both.
Yeah, doing both.
I know there's this people, they get it wrong. There's this exclusive thing with Kickstarter. A lot of people see that and they think, oh, well, I have to launch my book exclusively on Kickstarter. Now, you just have to have one item. It could be a sticker. It could be a different cover. You could include a different print with it. It just has to be one item. Has to be a Kickstarter exclusive, and that's the loophole.
Right.
So you can,
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that much.
Yeah, you can launch on both platforms at the same time. You just have to have the Kickstarter one slightly different. Like I said, it could be a different sticker that comes with it, print, different cover. Tim Lim, when they did Common America, when they went from Kickstarter to Indiegogo, what they did is they just flipped the front and back cover. They just reversed it.
Interesting.
And that's all they had to do.
Zach, where do you weigh in on all this?
About like the business side of comics, I really don't have any idea.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about my declaration that I'm going to.
Well, the main thrust of the declaration doesn't, and I don't think it is. I don't think it's completely. I mean, it's not business oriented. It's a thing because you and I have had a ton of private conversations about it. It's realizing that bad. I guess you say bad degenerate art comes from a bad degenerate place, and once that dichotomy opens up, it's kind of hard to do bad things and not feel completely guilty about it. And especially if you are as you said, trying to, really thinking about becoming a full-fledged Christian, which, I mean, when I did that, why did y'all just change your things over?
I don't know. Skinny did it, so I did it.
Because, I mean, I know when I did it, I felt horribly guilty about my very gory, messed up books being out there. And luckily they got taken out of print, not by me, like it just happened. So it worked out good for me. But I found, writing now, not that my stuff is like explicitly religious, but writing without that almost like lead weight of just the most horrible, sinful things ever. Because I mean, that's what I used to write, dragging it down. It's honestly liberating. It's like you can throw away all that kind of stupid stuff, and the story actually shines for it because you're not going in, like you're not just taking those tropes and making them funny again. You're telling like actual stories with meaning and value. Now, it's not to say that I haven't enjoyed horror. I mean, I freaking grew up on horror and I wrote a ton of it, but I did realize that making it, like the potency of it wasn't as it was never as intense. I always felt like, if you're adding a lot of gore or something, you're just kind of taking a trope and sprinkling it throughout the story. Now the stuff I write really, like I said, it's more potent. But
and that's the point. That's what I want to challenge myself to do. I want to challenge, reading. I told you this earlier on the phone. Reading Doug TenNapel's work. Skinny, how much Doug TenNaple have you read?
Oh, damn near all of it, dude. I've been a huge Doug TenNaple.
So something like Cardboard. You familiar with Cardboard?
Yeah.
So Cardboard is the story of a father that feels like he can't provide for his son, and so the only thing he can get him for his birthday is this weird cardboard he buys from a weirdo on the street, and the cardboard ends up being magical. Whatever you make out of it comes to life, and it's a very wholesome, heartwarming story about family. It's about a father being able to connect with his son. It's about an alienated neighbor kid who's a bully because his parents ignore him, and coming to terms with the fact that he needs friends and wants friends, and he's mean to people because deep down he wants them to be his friend, and he needs people to connect with and care about. Things like that in all of Doug TenNapel's work, like Ghostopolis is a really, really crazy deep book. Even Creature Tech, his first book, is about the shroud of what is it called? The Shroud of Turin, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The Jesus's death shroud. It's all about that and faith and resurrection and all. These books are just so deep, spiritually deep, and there's so much humanity and spirituality to these stories that on their face just kind of look like young adult kids books. And I for 2 years since I've been reading his stuff, I've thought to myself, like, I know I have at least one of those in me, and I want to try. And at this point, I know I have two of them in me. And so that's what I want to do. I really want to challenge myself I've been doing vulgarity and I've been doing extreme horror and really nasty stuff for 15 years. And I really want to try to create some profoundly human stories. And not that there isn't humanity and wholesomeness in my extreme horror stuff, because there is. I try to make my gory pornographic stuff as wholesome as possible, but you can only be so wholesome when you're ripping people's guts out and having sex with them.
Yeah, that's very true. I really honestly couldn't tell you. I just do whatever makes you feel happy, man. I mean, I know that's probably like the most busted ass answer I can give you, but that's really what it boils down to. Do you enjoy what you do?
Yeah, I just want to give it a shot. There's no harm in that. And I'm not abandoning Cockhammer, and I'm not going to take I'm not pulling a Zach here. I'm not pulling a Zach McGaha and taking all my previous stuff out of print. All my extreme horror stuff will basically, I call it the Strangeville multiverse for a reason. It's not the Strangeville universe. It's a multiverse because it takes place in different planes of existence. And I'm simply shifting to a new plane of the multiverse. A new universe in the Strangeville multiverse will be a place of faith and family.
And so have a wholesome universe.
What's that?
You'll have a wholesome universe within your multiverse.
Yeah. Within the Strangeville multiverse, there will be a wholesome universe that families and people that are more inclined towards stories of faith and family and wholesomeness can enjoy.
Yeah,
for the first time in my career.
I mean, I don't want to be completely open it up to some kind of hypocrisy, because even in the stuff I write now, it's not. I try to pretty much curb all the vulgarity, craziness out, but that doesn't mean that there can't be, I guess, certain type adult jokes or just certain things, because when I talk in private, I mean, I'm not saying I'm freaking perfect. I mean, I cuss and say bad things all the time, which, I mean, I'm not proud of that, but I'm not, it doesn't have to be super extreme. Like, you want to try to do the best you can and, move all these elements and make good stories, but it's not like there's some freaking like tally mark or something. It's very loose, and you kind of just, telling a good story will make it come out.
You're kind of getting away from the exploitation part of it.
Yeah, and the thing is I've done it for years and years and years. Like, if you want something exploitive and crazy from me, you have many, 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 many choices to make. And I don't think that I don't think I'm broken, as the Bizarro people say I am, because I'm, after 20 extreme horror and Bizarro novels and 7 feature films and 2 graphic novels, that I'm going to move away from it. Who cares? Who cares? People grow. If you can't grow as an artist, and I don't mean that you need to move, because again, these things are going to contain crazy horror and science fiction and fantasy and adventure elements, monsters, hot babes, robots, even demons and ghouls. The supernatural and heaven and hell play a big role in my fiction. That's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that a 15-year-old could come by the table and want to read it, and I won't have to shoo them away because there's too much sex and tits in it. I'll actually be able to, it'll be the type of stuff that's all ages. Anybody can read it.
Yeah, and that's always a good thing to have. Like, even my book Otis, like, there's gonna be some crazy gore and stuff in there, but I would say it's probably like maybe 12 and up.
Yeah.
Honestly, because there's really no coarse language. There's not going to be any nudity. There's going to be gore.
Are you familiar with Josh Howard?
Yeah.
Josh Howard, Dead at 17 and T-Bird and Throttle.
Yeah.
His Dead at 17 is it's a Christian young adult graphic novel series, and have you ever read it? It's like an omnibus. It's like
I have not gotten.
I think there's.
I've read a little bit of the T-Bird and Throttle. I really liked it.
T-Bird and Throttle is great. Dead at 17 is kind of what put him on the map, and it's like 8 graphic novels. It is a huge series, and it's basically him telling the story of Revelations through a 17-year-old girl who's killed and comes back from the dead and then is granted supernatural powers from God to fight hell on earth, basically. And there's a lot of risque, semi-nudity, extreme gore, not extreme gore. There's a lot of gore. She kills a lot of monsters. A lot of monsters and demons and Satanists get killed with, and her weapon of choice is an axe, is a hand axe. So there's a lot of decapitations, a lot of dismemberment, a lot of blood, and a lot of almost boobs and almost butts. And Josh Howard is a Christian, and this is a young adult Christian series. So there's a lot of liberties you can take with your material. Still be, I would say, on the corner of edginess, and tell a profound story, and it still be considered all ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's definitely a big difference between stories that, like, say, have, like, okay, it doesn't have to be as extreme as, like, oh, you could never have a death scene or anything like that. And I think that's what some people think we're getting at. It doesn't have to be that. It's just like Skinny said, you don't focus on this super, like, crazy brand of exploitation, because in my opinion, like, once you say, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just a story, everyone's going to just, like, take that liberty and run with it. And pretty soon you're going to be getting, like, all the screwed up stuff that's just indulging in it. And let's take a writer like Wrath James White, for instance, who he's a writer I like. I've read his extreme horror, and I really did like it at the time. But it's like, I don't think I could write something that extreme and not feel kind of guilty about it, because there is a point where it's like, it seems like fantasy indulgent, like just indulging in kind of like a crazy fantasy. You know, just reading it might not be that way. And I'm not wanting to, like, call him out. I'm just using him purely as an example. But have you ever read him, or, like, say Edward Lee?
Bradley Sands. Bradley Sands is headed to Wrath James White's Facebook page right now.
Yeah, he probably is. But, like, have you ever read, like, okay, say Edward Lee? Have you ever read him and been like it just feels like he's kind of getting off on this really sick, twisted type of, like, perverted sexuality? Yeah, like, I mean, I know you can say it's a fun story, but do you believe that element exists in it? And being able to say, oh, it's just all for fun, is a way to, like, mask over that he's just indulging. And again, that's not me saying everyone can be perfect. I'm nowhere near perfect. But it's just, once you put those, like, liberties in place, it's like people are gonna run with them. And
there's definitely,
I think it's better to practice restraint. I don't think restraint is unhealthy. Some people
always more.
There's definitely Wrath James White and Edward Lee and a lot of those guys that, yeah, they do. If anything, they have a reputation as being some of the most extreme exploitation writers there are, so they have to live up to that reputation. So they're constantly trying to be more and more shocking each time they go out. And there's plenty of Edward Lee and Wrath James White that I've started to read and been like, that's too much for me. That's too much for me. And I'm not a queasy guy. I can get through just about any of that stuff. Edward Lee I consider him to be in my top 5 favorite authors, favorite novelists. But
yeah, and even there's a point that I dogged on Wrath James White. When I read it, I loved what was it called? Succulent Prey. I mean, it was a freaking fun, awesome story. And I'm not saying that it's like, the story's still going to be there and it's fun, even if it is super crazy and degenerate, because that's us. We're bad humans and we like it.
Well, and I can tell you this, I would put Edward Lee in my top 5 writers, and I've never read an Edward Lee book that moved me as profoundly as a Doug TenNapel graphic novel. Because Doug TenNapel is talking about big ideas about faith and family and humanity and what it means to be human and what our role in the universe is. Whereas Edward Lee just has monsters fuck women to death.
Exactly. That's a very concise way to sum it up. I probably rambled all around my dang points, but
not everything has to be profound either. You just have to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Well, that's the itch that I scratch with Edward Lee, is when I pick up one of his books, I know it's going to be fast and furious and bloody and crazy, and I'm not looking to be moved like emotionally and spiritually by it. But what I'm saying is, when I do, he's like fast food. He's like eating French fries. It gets the hunger. It puts the hunger away, but it doesn't give me energy like a salad or fruit or some hearty vegetables would.
However, I would still say though that you might say that, but like even within, just kind of like dumb horror things, I still think there's a level of like what's good dumb horror and what's bad dumb horror, because some stuff, like take for instance Terrifier. I hate that freaking movie and it bores me to death. But something else, I mean, I'm blanking on an example. I know there are tons of a movie that doesn't mean anything explicitly, but it's still got human characters in it. You're going to like it more. Even if it's not being super profound, it's still got a human story in it. Whereas something like Terrifier is just, there's nothing to latch on to. Even in the dumb stuff, there's something to latch on to that, can get you through it. Because, I mean, you can't imagine reading a book that has no freaking, like, characters at all. It's just one crazy thing after another.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Zach, of course, is Zach and I talk about this stuff all the time, and a lot of our conversations have steered me towards this direction. But I've been telling Zach, this is kind of a 2 year. I've been building towards it kind of my whole career, but I really came out staunchly conservative about 5 years ago, and about 2 years ago I realized like I needed to make a change, and I've just been dragging my feet with it. And then the events of this past weekend with the Satanic Goblins and vampire witches have really, they just made me realize like I don't even want to write stuff that these people might like anymore. Like I want to try my hand at Skinny, you're saying that like not everything has to be profound, and you're right, but I've spent 15 years writing shit that's not profound.
Yeah, I'm not saying that you should.
I want to go. I want to try it at least once.
Yeah, everything has a place. That's what that's what I was arguing. Is that even, the degenerate stuff that you do has a place. And just the same as, if you want to shift gears and go from like Spike TV, John K. Ren and Stimpy that I completely fucking despise. You want to tone it down to Rocco's Modern Life? I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I think that'd be pretty cool, man. You could have an all ages thing, still have stuff in there for adults that will catch on to it, and kids that won't, but they can read it again later and catch on to it.
Yep. It's all going to be there.
I'm always 100% in favor of expanding your audience, man.
Yeah.
Make that money.
Yeah, it's not about money, really. It's, it is. It's always about money, but I'm going to make money through other avenues. But it's definitely about expanding the audience, and it's about my legacy, what I'm going to leave behind as a creative person, as an artist. What am I going to what am I going to leave here when I'm gone? That's going to speak for me for hundreds of years after I'm dead, and only a few, a tiny percentage of artists actually live on, past their death. But I hope to be one of those guys. I hope to be one of those guys that's art lives on. And I think one of the ways to ensure that is to begin to tell stories that have a lot of human meaning.
That actually opens up a very good thing. Just a quick point that I wanted to make, because you had said something, I don't know if it was in private or if it was on a stream, but about people doing occult type practices so that they stick in people's mind. I think it was when you were talking about Aleister Crowley. Okay, let's take, for example, something just like, okay, let's just say like, Jeff Burke stuff. Have you ever read his books?
I've read Shatnerquake. Okay. I guess I can't really comment on that because we haven't read his books, but I'm saying if you're going through like an actual like spiritual transformation, that's something that's going to reflect in your art and is
a thing, future readers after you're dead would like latch onto. Like that's a thing that they would think about. You're not just pumping out stuff and getting trendy covers. There's like an actual movement going on behind it. And someone who's just a scenester, they're not really going to leave anything of lasting importance if they never had some kind of thing like that happen in their life. I firmly believe that, because I don't believe any art that's going to last can come from like just a completely atheistic dead place. And that might seem kind of radical nowadays, but if you go back freaking maybe even just 50 years or before that, I don't think it would seem that crazy to say that, because people didn't have this tendency, this really weird modern tendency to like separate all art from spirituality. Like I really don't get that. Like why does an artistic community completely dog on one religion? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to. We can definitely talk about that on a stream, but I want to wrap this one up and not dig super deep into that. But yeah, the secular, the stripping spirituality from art and creating this sterilized secular consumer good is definitely did harm to how humans interact with art, for sure. But we're really not going to pray the hex away.
You can if you want to.
Skinny, are you going to pray with us?
Oh, I'm protected by voodoo. I'm good.
Lord in heaven, Zach and I come to you. Skinny's going to sit this one out. Zach and I come to you in Jesus' name. And we come to you tonight because the goth girls on the internet have hexed us. The coven of satanic pot-bellied vampires are after us, Lord. They've cursed us. They've put the spirit of the devil onto us. And we ask you today, we come to you in Jesus' name. We ask you to remove this curse, to remove this hex, to allow Zach and I to continue our spiritual journey towards you, Lord, towards our fellowship with you, towards our relationship with you. We ask the Holy Spirit to guide us and to shield us from the evil magic of the satanic nest of pot-bellied vipers listening to this show right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I got a feeling Bradley Sands is going to eat that one up.
Another reason why I did not want to partake too much is because, like, God's going to be like, why is this guy here? He didn't even get hexed.
He didn't even get hexed. I feel good about that. I feel good that we prayed the hex away. It's gone now. Zach, you and I are now shielded by the power of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, but I've got a feeling that the goblins are going to hear this and come right back after us.
Okay, well, they can do that. I'm on vacation all week, Zach. I don't care.
Nah, I don't care too much either, but they're going to have a field day with it.
You done pissed off all the occultist weirdos.
That was the goal. That's what I wanted. I wanted to open this stream with a prayer to remove the hex. But ending it is just fine. Okay, guys, I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you guys humoring me when I'm I'm going through this. I'm trying to go through this spiritual journey publicly. I really want people to see a man that's a flawed man. Some would say a bad man, trying a guy with a notorious catalog of weird and downright, some would say evil catalog of art, trying to come to terms with what that means and how to move forward and how to live a more spiritually pure life. And you guys are watching this in real time, and you're watching how crazy the Satanists get when you do this publicly.
No, you said the S word.
I did. All right, fellas. Bradley Sands, it was good talking to you tonight, and I hope that our message was received loud and clear, and I hope you go tell the appropriate parties. And I anticipate lots of whisper posts on the internet tomorrow, but I don't care because I'm on vacation. Zach, anything to add?
Nope, not that I can think of.
Skinny?
Y'all keep messing around. I'm going to call the Vatican.
Yeah. Otis Stein coming soon to Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs and potted plants coming soon from Nihilism Revised.
Yes. All right. Buy our books and stuff. We're out.